Thanks for joining on the last session of the year. And we're going to talk about time today, and kind of some reflections on time. And in fact, thinking about this made me actually consider, why do we do this work? Why haven't we been embarking on this journey? And it occurred to me that at least in my view, what we're trying to do is merge the sublime and the practical, and make the sublime and practical basically our normal life. Rather than having really wonderful moments and really mundane moments, and then thinking, how we have to slog through the mundane to get to the sublime, is that to try to make everything work together. In particular, I think, with working with all of mission-oriented nonprofits, that the work itself is a beautiful contemplative practice rather than a painful journey. And it actually occurred to me, and I was reminded of this because I was rereading, this is one of my favorite books of all time. It's Effortless Mastery by Kenny Werner. He's a jazz pianist. And among my hobbies, I play music, and I used to run and play in a band that became actually very tedious, in the sense that the music was hard for me, and we needed to make money because some of the band members needed it. It was their living. And I burned out from music, stopped playing for about 10 years. And rereading this, I remembered how I wanted to play. And I've been playing music again, finally, after years. And I've been doing some very technical things, very boring things, like scales and theory. And because I don't have all of those extraneous kind of goals and other people's ambition involved, I actually now have to be careful. If I play at night, it's dangerous because I'll stay up until 1 or 2 in the morning just playing music. I just lose track of time. And I'm doing sometimes very boring things. And I realize it's because of the approach. And it has been kind of a rediscovery of the sublime and the practical. And I feel like that is one of the things that what we're really trying to do. And so time becomes very interesting in that sense. Now, for me, I am not quite there in many aspects of my life. So I found it's still helpful for me to try to think about how I allocate my time, because some things are very nourishing and some things haven't quite gotten there yet. So one of the things that I really like to do is do an assessment of how I allocate my time. And that was really the reason for the spreadsheet that was sent out earlier. And I realized it's a little bit funny. I'm talking about the sublime, and then I sent out a spreadsheet. So there's...
May I say that the pie chart colors were so spectacular that it was sublime.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. That's great. But I have found this really interesting to do just an assessment using pie chart of time. And so one of the things that I looked at, and I'll share mine from a couple of years ago. It's actually a little different now, but I remember this one being very interesting to me. I always did this at work, and to me, one of the ongoing problems at work, right, is how much time do you spend doing long-term strategic planning versus, for example, administrative work, right? And my charts never looked a whole lot different than this, right? Very small sliver of long-term planning, very big sliver administrative meetings and emails. And so that was always something that was interesting to look at, and every year see, is there a way to improve? My personal one was also very interesting. And this is the one that I think is really worth doing. I like to do this at the end of the year. This is, again, kind of a snapshot of one from a couple of years ago. And there were so many interesting things when I did this. When I was younger, I used to surf a lot. I used to surf many hours a week, and it became part of my identity that I'm a surfer. And this was a couple of years ago, I looked at it and I realized, wow, surfing is a very small sliver of my life at this point. I just don't do it that much, even though it's still ingrained in my mind that I'm a surfer. And, lots of other things are bigger. And I didn't mind the commuting one was large because I used to meditate on the bus when I commuted. So that was like, oh, that one's okay. But I was horrified that random online, i.e. YouTube, was actually one of the largest, it was the third largest sliver of my life, right? And so looking at this in this way was really interesting to me to understand, the way that I'm allocating my life isn't necessarily the way that I had intended. And so I feel it's a really interesting practice. And that was the reason to share the spreadsheet with everyone. So if you feel motivated, feel free to use it. And I thought we would do a fun little, actually CR came up with a great idea for us to do this, is we could do a little live sampling of our own of just a couple interesting questions. And so, this is the poll that I suggested that we do. And I will stop my screen share for a minute for us to do our poll. Oh, hi, Mallory.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's no problem. Again, yes, we had a lot of folks on holidays, but so this is a reflection on time. It's a little poll for us. It's got 3 questions. And the first one is, each weekday, how much time do you spend on email? Just estimate roughly in your head, every day, how much time is spent processing emails? Wow, 1 hour, that's pretty good. Yeah, and not surprising, yeah, some of the bigger numbers are there also, right? I think, yeah, we're seeing between 1 to 6 plus, and unfortunately, yeah, that's.
Are other people seeing it?
Oh, sorry. You know what? Actually,
maybe you're just seeing it. Yeah.
All right. You know what? I think we need to run through them all, and then I will share them all. So the second one is, each week, how much quality, however you define quality, time do you spend with people most important to you? And this one is by week. The other one was for weekdays, but this is for the whole week. How much time do you spend with people that are really important to you? And the third one is, each week, how much time do you spend doing your favorite activities, things that you really care about? All right, thanks for answering. I will end the poll and share it. And you can see on email, actually, it's quite a range, but kind of the biggest number is 4 hours a day, which is, sadly, I think that's pretty common. That it's a pretty big portion of our lives at this point. And yeah, I mean, it was certainly like that for me when I worked in a large organization. And
there's an aspect too that I was surprised by, a personal email of that isn't necessarily just social, but is life management as well.
That's a great point. Yes. Yeah. It's hard to keep up with the personal email too, not just the work. So it's an interesting thing to note and to consider and think about, what does that mean for us to have so much of our time being part of is email. The second one is, how much quality time do you spend with people most important to you? I have to say, this group, maybe it's not surprising given this group, but these are some pretty big numbers. This is kind of great. I think that's a really wonderful thing to see such high numbers in there. I couldn't fill out the poll. When you're delivering the poll, you're not allowed to fill it out. Sadly, my number is much smaller than this. And so it's interesting to see and note, right, for myself. And then third is how much time you spend doing your favorite activities. And here we have quite a range. And interestingly enough, and actually this is also, there's some pretty good numbers in here also, which I think is great to see. And it's interesting just to think about. For me, I'll just share just because I find it interesting to think about how time is allocated. I mentioned my quality time with people I care about is low. My activity time is actually very high. And I realized, oh, that's interesting what that says about myself. It's probably why I'm still single, but people always say, oh, you're really good at a lot of things, So, but it's, the choices we make in our life make a lot of difference. So I think this is, so thank you for sharing. And and I think it's, again, really interesting to think about. And what I recommend for thinking about this is going back to our presentation. Is I like to think about a couple different things. I like to do an assessment. I care about journaling. Some of you were in our kind of intention setting session at the beginning of the year. This is a great time, by the way, to buy your new journal. So I always buy a journal each year, and I just got mine in the mail. And so it's a great idea to get your new journal now. I also think this is a great time of year to experiment with changes you want to make, right? As we hit the holidays, if there's something you want to shift, this is a great time to do it. And for us to do practice around time. And so that's what I actually would like us to do now, is a short practice on time and a reflection on the year. So if you would please find a way to sit that allows yourself to be alert but relaxed. You can close your eyes if you prefer, or avert your gaze. I suggest a soft gaze down. And let's settle in with several deep breaths. And resuming normal breathing, encourage us to just look at what's happening in the body right now. What physical sensations do you notice in the body? Maybe areas of tension or ease in your body. Temperature. We were speaking of temperature earlier. Notice how your posture feels. Also note, can you observe the thoughts that are arising? As thoughts arise, can you notice them? And any emotions that may be arising or present for you. What emotions do you notice? Then I encourage us to all reflect on the year. So can you replay the year? What comes to mind as you think about this past year? Maybe you see it in a movie of images of the year. Maybe it's a story. Just think about the year that just passed. Is there a tone, maybe expressed in, again, in images or colors? Is there a theme or themes to the year? Maybe there are distinct segments. I ask you to, again, just notice what's happening in the body. Notice any physical sensations. You can notice your thoughts, any emotions that might be present. Let's take several deep breaths. And resuming normal breathing, I'd encourage you to think about something that was very meaningful, a happy moment or a meaningful moment, something that was very important to you in this past year. Something that had a positive impact on you. I encourage you to try to relive it. Think about the sights. What did it look like? The images, the sounds. If words are spoken, remembering those words, the feelings of that important moment. Then as you can notice what's happening in the body. Physical sensations. You can notice the thoughts. Any emotions that might be present. Let's take several deep breaths. And resuming normal breathing. Encourage you to think about something that you'd like to do more of in the upcoming year. Could be spending time with a particular person or persons, or an activity, or some combination, but something that you'd like to spend and devote more time to in the upcoming year. And I'd like you to think about, imagine yourself doing that, just the experience, what it feels like, what it looks like. Just imagining that happening. And if you can notice what's happening in the body, sensations in the body, any thoughts you might be having, any emotions that might be arising. Let's take several deep breaths. Resuming normal breathing as we close this practice. Feel free to open your eyes if you had them closed, and bring our attention back to our call together. Thank you for joining in that practice. And I would encourage you, if you had positive feelings around the thing that you are going to spend more time on, is to use that as a motivator to help use that as a energy motivator for trying to make it happen in the new year. And I think those are the things that I would really encourage for us to think about. And then I did want to do a quick wrap up for the year. As we've gone through a year together, I know a lot of folks are on vacation, but I did want to highlight we've done a lot of things together. Oh wait, I'm on desktop. Maybe I need to do. And this is all of the topics that we've covered in this past year. And it's been a lot of really amazing and wonderful experiences for me as well. I've been really grateful to have this, and particular thanks to CR and David for helping with the visioning and creating of this wonderful set of experiences for us. And I did want to mention that we do. I'm going to be sending a survey out that is for us to provide feedback, and be great to get feedback. In fact, I have it here, so you're welcome to do it now. I can share it in the chat. Oh wait, how do I do that? I need to switch my screen. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud as we're doing this. And yeah, maybe I'll send it after, actually, because it'll be easier for me to send it after. But we'd love to get feedback as we're planning out the next year. And just thank you for such a wonderful year together.